always reliable Anthony Leone. Leone, how we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here. Wide receiver rankings. This is my wheelhouse. Taking advantage of people around the league who don't know what they're doing, and if you can have a good understanding of values, what people in the community think, and what you think yourself, you can really build good teams. And it starts right here at the top. So I'm happy to be here and happy to join you this evening to do this.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a nice animated debate today. A bunch of "you're wrong," "no, that's stupid," but it makes it for fun, and I think it's important to get perspectives on a lot of different ways of thinking because of course, when you're talking about dynasty, youth is super important, but some people take it more into account than others, and I think we're on different wavelengths for that. So, and we'll see in our rankings, and we'll discuss it. But it's always good. I think like when you're doing these dynasty wide receiver rankings, and maybe you're feeling trades out in the leagues. I think that's why it's important not to just send a trade offer and then just like, hey, sent you a trade, rather than hey, maybe looking to get this guy. What do we think? Get trades talking, because you can gauge someone's perspective on how they rank players, especially wide receivers who have like a longer shelf life in dynasty leagues. So, but before we get into it, let's get into some of the news and notes, and we'll keep it kind of short. There's always a lot of stuff to talk about, but we'll just kind of talk about the fantasy relevant things that happen. So obviously, Christian McCaffrey, I think, was traded on Thursday to the San Francisco 49ers. And if I'm not mistaken, Leone, we talked about it last week, right?
Yeah,
him landing there.
We talked about, there was a report that he could land in San Francisco or the Rams. I think we each both favored the Rams as a better destination, although I think either would have been good, and I think you agreed. And yeah, I mean, I think his arrow points up in San Francisco. I think it's a really good offense. We saw him this past weekend get what he got, like 10 opportunities, I think, this past Sunday. And he had a couple plays where he just looked really good. He doesn't know the playbook yet. He'll get more involved this week. He's really going to shine the following game because they have a bye week after this week. So I think if you have him, you're going to start him this week. But I really wouldn't expect to see a Christian McCaffrey type game until after the bye. And that's when I think we're going to see the real Christian McCaffrey return again.
Yeah, and I always feel like running backs can go on teams and immediately make an impact, like where the playbook's probably a little bit, it's more simple because, it's like, what way do I run? But with Christian McCaffrey running a lot of routes, I think that's the part of the playbook that I think takes a little bit longer to pick up. So, I mean, I agree. I like the landing spot, of course, because his touchdown upside goes up. And I feel like when you give up that much draft capital, especially for a running back, you're gonna showcase him, especially when it's one of Christian McCaffrey's talents. So I don't think we have to worry about his touches or anybody even competing for touches with him, of course.
And Kyle Shanahan is known to have one of the most difficult offenses to run. There's a lot of pre-snap movement, and so it's not a surprise that he's going to take a little while to get caught up to speed. But I think he is going to shine once he has a full understanding of the playbook.
Right. I agree. And then the biggest one, I think this might be the most gut punching. I mean, not really personally, but just like in general as a football fan, one of the worst injuries this year was obviously rookie running back Bryce Hall, who seemed like he was easily going to run his way to offensive rookie of the year, out for the season on a torn ACL, especially after a huge start. Of course, I think I can speak for both of us. In any format, you were starting him and feeling pretty good about it. So it's a huge loss. And of course, Michael Carter Jr. seems to be a solid backup. We don't really have to go much into it, but they traded for James Robinson. I'm not sure what his role is going to be there, but I like plugging in James. I'm sorry, I like plugging in Michael Carter Jr. in my lineup, but I don't feel nearly as comfortable with him in there instead of Bryce Hall. So one of the worst fantasy injuries this year. What are your thoughts on Bryce Hall?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. Injuries is probably Oh, that's Craig. I'm sure that's
I know.
I'll research that when there's some dead air. I'll figure that one out
Craig.
though. We're going to answer all questions at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So keep the questions coming. We'll get to those at the end of the stream. But yeah, injuries are really the worst part of fantasy football. Really, football in general. I mean, you hate to see a rookie so promising go down like that, and his season get ended short. Looks like the injury is more of a standard ACL tear. They did say there was a little bit of a meniscus injury, but nothing too severe. So I would expect Breece Hall to be good to go at the start of next season. But we'll have to just see how his recovery goes. And yeah, I mean, if you have Michael Carter, I think it's a nice bump. I would be more confident starting Michael Carter over James Robinson going forward. I just think that Carter has, we've seen Carter kind of do more of a pass catching type role. James Robinson may grind out some of those, maybe he turns in more to like a, goal line type back. I guess we'll see. But I mean, you can't expect Michael Carter to really, be half of what Breece Hall was. So it's just kind of a huge bummer overall. And it's just one of those situations where we just kind of have to wait again for next year now for Breece Hall.
Yeah. And like you did say, everyone, Leonie did say we'd answer questions at the end. We take about 35, 40-ish minutes talking about our Dynasty wide receiver rankings, and then we'll go down through the chat and answer questions. And then Bap Jab, I see your question in there. If you could maybe list some of the wide receivers you were thinking about picking up with these running backs that you listed, who's available or who you trying to target and trade, so we can better help answer your question later. So let's just dive into it. So Dynasty wide receiver rankings. I'm just going to go right into it. We're going to do 4 at a time. So our first 4. No surprise at 1 and 2. And we talked a little bit about it before the stream. We can't. I think you could agree that we can't fault you for putting Justin Jefferson first. But what's the reason that you personally have Jamar Chase above Justin Jefferson?
For me, it's Joe Burrow. Just the offense. I mean, they're just, they started the year kind of being more balanced and trying to run the ball. And then they realized, wait a second, we have all these elite pass catchers. Why don't we just let Joe Burrow just chuck it? And now you've seen what they can do when they do that. So, when you talk about, like, first of all, even everyone in the top 12, not just the top 1, 2, 3, 4, but the top 12, all these dudes are elite. All of these dudes are the best of the best of the best of the best. So we're going to be splicing some hairs here and saying, oh, you're crazy for putting them this high and that low or whatever. But we're really looking at 1,000-time microscope, where, we're really splicing hairs here. So, with all that said, if you want to put Justin Jefferson first, I'm not going to argue. You could even put Waddle and Tyreek Hill over these guys. I'm not going to really be that upset about it. But for you and me, I think we agree. Jamar Chase, number 1, based on Burrow and the offense. Justin Jefferson, number 2, just because he is that good. He is, he can overcome really anything. But yeah, that's kind of what it came down for me. I'm assuming you're the same.
Yeah, I mean, when you got guys of this level of talent kind of on their own platform at this point, like with including their youth, you just go with the better quarterback. That's the only thing different for me at number 1. Now, if Justin Jefferson got traded to the Chiefs, it could easily change, right? I mean, it wouldn't be like I could put him at number 1 and put Jamar Chase at number 2 and really not think much about it still, or keep it the same way. Like that's just how close they are. And then I knew we would get some differences here at 3 and 4. So I obviously went back to back Miami receivers. I did go with the younger one in this case, the one that's producing not as well as Tyreek Hill, but I mean, geez, he's nipping at his heels every single week. Both are top assets, not only this year, but in my opinion, in dynasty leagues. And then you have 2 guys that are also still on my list later down with CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown. So go into your thinking of putting CeeDee Lamb here at number 3 above maybe some guys like Jalen Waddle or even like AJ Brown, some other guys we might have on our list.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's age. I mean, Lamb is only 23 years old. He looks promising. He's fast. He can catch the ball. He's been plagued by some quarterback woes of late, and so I expect him to be a very, very solid wide receiver one for the foreseeable future. And again, it's mostly an age argument, and I know a lot of people don't factor age as much as other people do, but for wide receiver especially, I do factor age more than any other position because you can see, I mean, all you got to do is pull up a consensus wide receiver ranking from 5 years ago, and you're going to see a lot of names on there that are elite or second, top 24 now that were top 12, top 24 then. And if you do the same exercise for running back or even tight end, it's going to be a completely different list of dudes from 5-6 years ago. But wide receiver consistently stays relatively similar, with exceptions noted. So for me, it's age. Age, wide receiver, age. If I'm drafting, age is the first point of consideration when we're talking about these elite players in the first 3, 4, 5 rounds.
So there is only, I want to see if you can get it. There's only one wide receiver in the top 10 5 years ago. Who do you think it is? And he's on our list. Well, on one of our lists.
You mean on all of our lists, like top 12?
Yeah, there's one name.
These guys here? Well, none of these guys were in the league except for Tyreek Hill.
It's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill was in the top 10 in 5 years ago. It's just interesting to see a lot of these names: Larry Fitzgerald, Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas.
But you go through those. I mean, you go through those lists and you see, man, Mike Evans. Oh yeah, he's still elite. I mean, you go through these. It's a really fun exercise to go through the rankings, consensus rankings from years back. And I'm telling you, man, you keep seeing the same guys, and you do the same thing for running backs, and it's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, wide receivers stay relevant longer. That's the point, you're trying to make. So I feel like when I watch CeeDee Lamb, there's another player that reminds me a lot of him. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb is better. This other player's not even on my list. But they have the same. They got their quick twitch and they get ways to get open. They're both pretty good with the after the catch. CeeDee Lamb better. They'll make crazy, really good catches, but then they'll drop routine balls. Who do you think I'm talking about?
Not sure. Go ahead.
Deontay Johnson. I really think CeeDee Lamb and Deontay Johnson play very similar. Obviously, both have drop issues. Both make some crazy catches as well. But obviously, CeeDee Lamb's Deontay Johnson's only 25. So I kind of struggled putting him at the bottom of my list. I think he's being overlooked a lot this year with the whole offense of Pittsburgh is kind of struggling, right? So I think that all their assets are getting overlooked a little bit. But I just think CD is kind of on that wavelength where I just don't trust him. I think he's got too many bust weeks to put him in my top 3 or 4 right now, where sure, he might help me win in fantasy, but I just would trust Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill in my lineup this year, probably next year as well, which is kind of why I have him ranked a little bit lower. I like your AJ Brown at 4. He was a player I kind of struggled on where to put him, and the only reason why is this is the first year. I mean, knock on wood, the first year so far in his career, even including his rookie year, that he hasn't had an injury and missed some time. So when you got kind of those habitual injury habits, it's like you almost got to prove that you're not going to continue to get hurt before maybe I rank you a little bit higher. Whereas all these guys everyone else on our list so far has been, healthy, pretty much there.
And another one of the criteria in why age is important to me is when I look at these 8 guys that we have, and it's actually not really 8, it's 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 guys. Of these 6 guys, if one of them were to tear their ACL in week 8, which one would fall off the top 12 if we were to do this in week 9? It's obviously Tyreek Hill.
I mean, I could argue AJ Brown would fall in there too for me. I mean, the dude at that point, all right, now you're getting hurt every single year. I might put him out of there too.
All right. But my point is when you get at 28 years old, if you have a season-ending a season-ending injury, like your value is like just gone. Like it disappears.
There's definitely a little bit
of risk. That's what I struggle with. And we're gonna highlight that again later in this conversation. But it's always something I consider.
And I have a counter argument. I have a good counter argument for that I'll bring up later when we bring in some more older guys and younger guys. So let's jump into the next 4 each. So we have one the same here with Chris Olave. I mean, I think he speaks for himself. I think when we did the show preseason, and I think you can vouch for me that, I was all about Chris Olave before the season started. I was so involved on this stream talking about Chris Olave that in a draft on a part of the Roto Heat community, his league, somebody that used to watch the stream knew we were doing an auction draft, and he threw up Chris Olave and tagged me and said, "Here, spend the rest of your money." And I did. I really did spend the rest of my money. I was saving up for him. I was hoping to get him a little bit later so other people spent their money, so I didn't have to spend as much. But I'm super happy with the outcome. And this is where I kind of add a couple of more veteran players. Stephon Diggs at 5, Cooper Kupp at 7. There's where CD pops on my list. And then you're sticking with the young guns. I like Jalen Waddle at 5. Can't fault you for it. Deebo Samuel at 7 is another one that I don't mind, but I think I do have a little problem with T. Higgins at 8. So go ahead and go through why you don't like Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp at 5 and 7 for me, and then what are your thoughts on T. Higgins at 8?
Well, again, it's just an age thing, like I just said. If Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, if Cooper Kupp tore his ACL, I mean, their values respectively would crash. They would just crash off this list. They would never be mentioned in top 12 again. They wouldn't. I mean, they just wouldn't. By the time they recover, Cooper Kupp's case, he'll be over 30. Stephon Diggs would be getting to 30 years old himself, coming back from an injury. I mean, they're never going to get back to this level. So right now, in my opinion, Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, it's peak value. And that's fine. You can rank them at peak value. That's what their current value is in the community. I get it. But it's just not how I want to build my team. If we're doing a startup draft, there's no chance in heck I'm drafting someone 28 years old as my first round pick. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp at 29. Like, it's just not. It's just first. Well, but you would have to, because who are you going to take?
If this is a 1 QB league, I'm probably going heavy at running back, right? I mean, I probably got 7 running backs, and then three to 5 wide receivers on there. I guess if I got a late pick,
if you got a late pick,
you
can't. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're picking 12, you can't. In my opinion, you just can't draft these 28-year-old dudes, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, to start your dynasty team. It's like one injury, you're screwed, and then it's just not how I want to build a team. If I draft Waddle or Brown or Olave or Deebo and they have a serious injury, it's like, oh, that sucks. I'll play for next year. Like, I'm not even going to fret. Like, okay, like they don't lose any value, within a few spots, whatever. And then you don't lose that value. Like, you invest so much into an early round pick that you have to insure yourself. And the only way you can do that in sports, in fantasy, is with age. There's no other way to do that. And so for me, like T. Higgins at 8, easy. I mean, dude is what, 22 years old, 23 years old. Yeah, he gets kind of overshadowed by Chase a little bit, but he's still elite. And if he were to tear his ACL, yeah, it sucks for this year, and you're not going to be able to use him this year. But is his value really dropping that much? No.
Yeah, I mean, you could find T. Higgins could easily find himself on my list if he were in a different spot, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility in a couple of years. I mean, this is his third year in the league, so next year will be his fourth year. I'm assuming that's his end of his rookie contract. He could, I mean, you'd imagine that he wants a big payday, right? And I doubt the Bengals are going to be able to afford him. So I can't really fault it at 8. But it's just like I think there's a lot of things that want to happen. So you're talking about, these guys tearing their ACLs. It's a good argument, right? Like everything you're saying makes 1,000% sense. If they get hurt, their value, it gets crippled compared to these younger guys. But it's like, I'm really trying to think, when's the last time we saw like an older running back, or I'm sorry, wide receiver tear their ACL or get a season-ending injury? Like I can't really.
Okay, so one that comes to mind, and it wasn't an ACL tear, but one that comes to mind was Cortland Sutton 2 years ago. He tore his shoulder up.
Okay.
And he essentially missed the whole season. Keenan Allen too, like he's missed seasons at a time.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean,
but it's like I feel like, Cortland Sutton was young when he had his injury. Like he's only like 25, right? 24. He's not old. I think that, I'm really trying to think. I can't think of a really good wide receiver that just like.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins, he lost half the season to a suspension. Similar.
That was the
same thing though.
Yeah.
But same thing. Like if you miss time for whatever reason, I don't care if it's injury or because you AB and leave the field.
This is a 1% chance from what we're really seeing, right? There's like 100 receivers in the league, and how many of them are getting put out for a year?
Well,
it's not happening very often.
But there's also other circumstances, because it's not even just if the wide receiver gets hurt, it could be the quarterback gets hurt.
I know, but it's like
then it's the same thing. It's the same.
You're making it seem like it's like likely, and it's like you're not really seeing this happen. Like we're just seeing guys digress more than anything. Like they're just like really relevant one year, and then they just slowly start to become irrelevant. You're not really seeing them fall off the map. Is my point. And then my other my main counter argument is. So T. Higgins, I think you'd agree. T. Higgins has some ugly weeks, right? Like he's got some good weeks, but he's got a lot of ugly weeks throughout the season as well. How many ugly weeks are we really seeing from Stephon Diggs? How many below 15 weeks are we seeing from Cooper Kupp? Almost none, right? Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs are wide receiver 1 and 2 this year. I actually haven't checked. I haven't checked that since this last week, but I would be willing to bet they're averaging 1 and 2 this year. So it's like, sure, they might not be 1 and 2 next year, but it's 100% in the realm of possibility they're both top 8 receivers the following year. So I just think like I don't really play thinking I get the risk of the injury crippling their value, but it's just I'll still take the guy that I think is going to get more points, has more value for this year and next year than like I wouldn't be surprised for me if Cooper Kupp's trade value, Stephon Diggs' trade value, Tyreek Hill's trade value is we know it's higher than T. Higgins right now. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's still higher next year. So you got 2 whole years where you can see a bigger return on these 2 players than you can see on T. Higgins. That's kind of the point the way I look at it as well.
And I understand as a community, I know Cooper Kupp is ranked higher than arguably half the guys on my current list shown right now. Yeah. I'm well aware of that. And if I own AJ Brown, or if I own Cooper Kupp, I may try to get AJ Brown plus something else. Or else I won't do the deal. So I'm aware of what the community thinks is.
But you would do the deal if you have them labeled, if you have them higher.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because my own rankings isn't what the community thinks is what the ranking is. So when I do trades or when I try to do that, I'm not trading at my own personal value. I'm trading at the market value.
That's
I
understand that.
I can think Waddle is a bet, or let's use someone that's not higher on your list. I may rank Deebo Samuel higher than Cooper Kupp, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to trade Deebo Samuel. That doesn't mean that I'm going to reject a trade of Cooper Kupp for Deebo Samuel. I'll take that if I think I can trade Cooper Kupp for more later. I know what the community values, but my own personal value is Deebo Samuel's higher, because what if Matthew Stafford gets hurt and misses the year like he did a couple seasons ago? I mean, what's going to happen to Cooper Kupp's value if Matthew Stafford isn't there anymore?
I would imagine it goes down.
It would go, yeah. And if that happened, let's say Matthew Stafford breaks his hand. We saw the same thing with Michael Thomas recently. That's a guy who got hurt, actually, that you were trying to think of. That's actually a really good example. Michael Thomas. 2 years ago,
he got hurt at 27.
I know, but that's still a good argument, because he didn't play the following year because he waited on getting his injury done.
His injury was so mismanaged. It was
yeah. So, but we can say, okay, let's pretend he was 28.
That's a good example. So
let's pretend he was 28 when he got hurt. I mean, we didn't even think about putting him on our list, you and I. And he would have been ranked 1 overall on a lot of people's lists, not mine, but a lot of people would have had Michael Thomas number 1 overall, even at 27 years old, 28 years old, and one injury. Now, granted, there were some other circumstances that we just talked about, but one injury, dude's off the map. DeAndre Hopkins is another example. Like, dude was number 1 not too long ago, but I'm telling you, man, when you're 27, 28 years old, like, if you have these guys, this is the time to trade them at max value. This is the time to trade Cooper. This is the time to trade Cooper. And why is it time? And why is it time to trade Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Cooper Kupp? Because they're not going to be on your list much longer.
That's true.
And so that's why I know your list is wrong, because you self-admit they're not going to be on your list much longer.
But you self-admit that you wouldn't trade a guy that you have higher on your list for a guy that's not even on your list. So it's like you're kind of also defeating yourself. I don't just take it, like, I get that you want a younger asset, but you have to take in people's value on players to
so this is another example. I want insurance. If I drive a nice sports car, would you drive that thing down the freeway at 100 miles an hour without any insurance? Probably not. The problem with these fantasy players is you have no insurance on any of these players unless they're young. Because if they're young, they can get healthy. If they're not young, they're not going to be what they once were. You literally have no insurance on this hot rod. None. And so that's where
But would it surprise you to know that Cooper Kupp's trade value is higher than T. Higgins even next year, or even Deebo Samuel's next year?
No, I'm well aware the community ranks Cooper Kupp higher as a whole. And if I have T. Higgins and I'm contending, and I think Cooper Kupp will get me an extra 7 points per week and can get me to that title, I may, yes, it is Dynasty ranks. I may risk some of that. I may, take some of that insurance policy and cash it out.
I think the point here that we can agree on is when you get outside of the first 2, or maybe the top 3 in our case, I think that situation can matter. What your team looks like can matter. Like, I get that you maybe have these in a. I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree that we take these guys in order the way we have them for a startup. But I think, like, when it comes to their value in trading outside of the top 3, in my opinion, we can agree that team situation, contending, rebuilding is a huge factor on these guys. Because if I'm rebuilding, I'm probably I'm gonna trade away these guys you've already talked about peak value, Tyreek Hill.
But and part of the problem though, when you do these early on, these rankings, you're doing your startup drafts, and it's like you don't know if you're going to be a contender or not.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to be really careful.
But I think you can be pretty safe to say, barring injury, that Hill, Diggs, and Cup are going to still be top assets for that year, to where you can still get really good value out of them. Maybe some of the guys on your list plus a pick or something like that.
Not if they get hurt. Not if their quarterback gets hurt.
I said barring injury, but we're not seeing like injuries. It's not like a common thing with older receivers. Like there's plenty of older receivers that have stayed healthy. DeAndre Hopkins has stayed healthy. Yeah, he got suspended for PE.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones. Yeah, but when did he start? I mean, that was 30. None of these guys are 30 yet.
No, in Cooper Kupp's case, it's one season away.
He's close. Right. I think he would be definitely the guy to sell now for sure. He'd be my first sell now if I'm rebuilding, because I think this is max. I can agree.
So you agree then that Cooper Kupp is a sell now, and I think we can spend a little bit of time on this because we're almost done.
He is a sell now if you are not even
if you're not contending. That's fine. You think Cooper Kupp's a sell now, but if you think his value is going to fall off sooner rather than later, why would you personally rank him above someone like CeeDee Lamb? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if 2 years from now, this is Dynasty. If you know for sure, Bryce, you know for sure CeeDee Lamb is going to be worth more than Cooper Kupp 2 years from now. Why would you rank Cooper Kupp higher?
Because I can get more for Cooper Kupp.
That's not the question. But that's not the question.
But that's why.
I know the community is wrong and ranks guys that can win now higher than these younger guys.
You asked me and I answered it. In 2 years from now, yeah, CD might be higher than Cooper Kupp. But right now, if I'm a contender, or if I'm not contending, and I think I could sell Cooper Kupp for CD plus something. Next year, it wouldn't be surprised me if I could sell. I'm not a huge CD Lamb person. That's why he's kind of lower on my list. I could get CD in a second round pick for Cooper Kupp, and I wouldn't. A contender might give that up. Like Cooper Kupp is like a minimum of 15 points a week, where CD Lamb has a low floor. Like we've seen him put up sub 5 point weeks. So it's like if I've got 2 years of like more value, I'll rank him higher, because like I don't have to look 6 years into the future just because it's a dynasty ranking. I'm constantly looking at making trades and stuff like that. So I can improve my roster in 2 years. So if I can take a guy and still improve my roster by getting a guy maybe that's a little bit lower on my list and another asset, yeah, I'm going to rank a veteran player higher.
Okay. And so I feel what you're saying. If you asked me to say, hey, Leone, rank your top 12 wide receivers in Dynasty, this is my list. If you say, okay, Leone, I want you to rank the top 12 Dynasty rankings based on what you think the community as a whole would rank them, you're going to see a way different list. So just so we're on the same page, that's why my list is going to look a little bit different. I think maybe we had a different view of how to do the assignment in a sense. I
don't think so. I think we just look at Dynasty a little different. I don't think
there's
one right way, and I don't think there's one wrong way. I think it's just a different style of thinking about it.
Very cool. I love it.
I think you look further into the future than I do, and I can't. That might work out for you, and sometimes it might work out for me. It's just all dependent.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that.
Now we have some more crazy stuff. We got some guys more guys.
Man, I don't even smoke. I feel like I need a cigarette right now.
Now we've got way more guys that aren't on our list. Guys in the chat, we'll answer questions at the end if you weren't here at the beginning. So stay tuned. We're almost done. We're gonna finish this up and then
we're almost done now. We got all the meat and potatoes out of the way. We're getting to the home.
So obviously, here at the end of my list, I went all youth, right? Because I like all these guys. I think that we can agree. Which out of these last four, I know it's not going to be Debo. It's not going to be AJ Brown. I'm looking at my list now and I'm thinking about AJ Brown. I might have moved him up some, but it is what it is. Which of these last four do you like the least of mine?
I was surprised to see George Pickens. To be honest, I like George Pickens. I know we were both relatively high on him in the draft process. We both had him in the top 12. A lot of people didn't, especially early on. Before, we did rankings before the draft, and we were talking about these guys before they were even drafted.
Yeah,
and we both
the 109 in the draft.
Yeah, we both were high on Pickens, and we both said, look, if this guy just didn't have this injury, he'd be top 5, and everyone's just overlooking him.
Yep.
And the longer the offseason went, the higher Pickens kept getting ranked by the community as a whole. But even still, I'm just not there to put him top 12. I mean, I think he's really good, and I think he has a bright future. There's just not enough there to put me ahead of some established guys, like DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know you'll disagree with him. Even someone like Chris Godwin, who we don't even have listed, but I think would earn a spot above George Pickens. So, yeah, I mean, you're free to go off on George Pickens here. I know we both like him, but
yeah, I mean, I just think I gotta put my money where my mouth is. I'm a huge George Pickens guy. I think he is. Again, this is probably my biggest stretch in here, and I can agree why that a lot of people wouldn't have him in the top 12, maybe let alone the top 15. But I've watched him too much, and I see the talent to know that this guy has all of the tools to be a top NFL wide receiver. Like I really think that he is a superstar in the making. It's just waiting to get the offense around him. He's already looking better than all the other receivers there. We've already talked about Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson is a fantastic receiver. I think he'll be the one complimenting George Pickens as the number 1. So I'm trying to buy him now more than ever. And he's probably the only person on this list that I kind of like reverse my thinking. Like I wouldn't mind if I put a veteran receiver above him because I think I could get him. I traded, for example, this is a good one, I think. Right before DeAndre Hopkins got back off suspension, I'm rebuilding. I trade DeAndre Hopkins for George Pickens in a second-round pick. I'm extremely happy with that return because D-Hop's not going to do me any good. Probably 2 years from now when my team's probably ready to compete, I think George Pickens will be. Kind of the point of why maybe sometimes I put these veteran receivers above him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I really like him. I mean, he's a true slot receiver. He's really the only true slot receiver on this list. It's just I don't know what the impact of Jameson Williams will be on Amon-Ra St. Brown's target share. Because I mean they invested a lot of draft capital in Jameson Williams, and it looks like we're going to see him sooner rather than later. He will be playing this year, from what Dan Campbell said. I expect that process for him to be weaned in, but I think by the end of the year, we're going to see more of a clear picture of what the target share will be like, at least with Jared Goff at quarterback for the Lions. Only reason I don't have Amon-Ra on the list is he just doesn't have the not the ability, but maybe the profile as a lot of these other guys on the list. Bigger wide receivers, or faster wide receivers, I should say. A guy I really wanted to put on my list was Drake London. I struggled with him and Michael Pittman Jr. I think I just put Michael Pittman Jr. because he's got more proven so far, where Drake London still that quarterback situation appears to be as murky as the Colts. So I really couldn't fault anybody for putting them up. But I think we rounded off our list well. I really can't disagree too heavily with any of your people outside of maybe T. Higgins and Amon-Ra being too high in my opinion. So.
And then Kupp being too low.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp got to be higher. In my opinion, I just think that you could get a lot. You could get any, maybe not all of them, but
no. I mean, I think in some leagues, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in a league with I don't know. I think you could see a T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown for Cooper Kupp. Like, I think you could see that trade. I mean, I think you could see that happen in one of your leagues. So I understand, like, it'd be weird thinking like, oh, why would you rank these two dudes higher if you could package them both and get a dude lower? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, which is you use that against me when I said these guys are at peak value right now.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying I could see it happen.
Right.
And again, my argument is, yes, I'm aware Cooper Kupp has that much more value over those dudes right now, today, October 25th, 2022. But it's just too short-sighted for me, knowing that, in my opinion, 2 years from now, we will be talking about T. Higgins, in my opinion, Amon-Ra St. Brown in this conversation. Cooper Kupp will be like Michael Thomas. He won't even be DeAndre Hopkins. He won't Julio Jones. He will not even be in the conversation.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. That rounds off our list. Definitely fun. I think next week, I think quarterbacks would be kind of boring. So would tight ends. I think you could agree on that. Why don't we do a one quarterback dynasty ranking? Like, let's rank everything 1 through 12. Think that'd be fun?
Okay.
Because we kind of hit that earlier of like, well, you take one of these guys in the first round, and I was trying to think of like what running backs I'd be taking probably above them in a one.
Yeah, maybe we could do like a mock draft and just rotate.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll go over we'll figure it out.
We'll do something probably similar to what we're doing today, but with like both wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight end. We're not gonna see a quarterback in the first round, but we'll do something like that. So we're gonna answer these questions.
We might do quarterback in the first round. I don't know.
You might.
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
But for those listening to this in the form of a podcast later on, we're going to end it here before we get to these questions. So thank you guys for listening so much, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.
All right. Bap was in here first.
I don't think I would do a quarterback in the first round, second round. No.
Sup, guys?
I just wanted to tease it a little bit. I don't think I would.
Sup, guys? Thinking about some general advice to improve my wide receiver core. Thinking about dropping one of my running backs, and he went to name his running backs McCaffrey, Mostert, James Conner, Jamal Williams, and Darrell Henderson Jr. And then he lists his wide receivers: Olave, AJ Brown, Lamb, Alec Pierce, George Pickens, Josh Reynolds. I mean, I don't think you're going to find anybody on like the waiver wire that's going to improve your roster, because like I feel pretty comfortable throwing Lamb, Olave, and AJ Brown in a weekly lineup. And then like when bye weeks come, I plug in George Pickens. Like I feel extremely comfortable with that as my wide receiver core. I'm more concerned. I think you could agree with the running backs, right? McCaffrey, Mostert, James Conner, Jamal Williams. I mean, DeAndre Swift's going to be back.
Well, Henderson though is in a pretty good spot right now.
I think it's McCaffrey and Henderson for him.
No, Mostert's been on fire. I mean, once Connor's
has.
I think it's.
He has.
I don't think it's that bad.
I worry about James Conner. I wouldn't be surprised for me to see them start just working in young guys. I really think the Cardinals are 100% addressing running back, whether it's through free agency or the draft next year. So I think James Conner is a guy that I just like. He's good in a redraft sense. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them just start working in young guys and see if they somehow have like a hidden gem on their bench. That way they don't have to address it. But I mean, out of these three, I'm probably starting McCaffrey and Henderson Jr. every week, and then I'm plugging in Mostert or Connor on their bye weeks. And would you agree with that as well?
I mean, I don't really have an issue with his running backs at all, to be honest. I mean,
I just think his running backs are weaker than his wide receivers. I mean, I think the receivers are fine.
I think he has a pretty good team. I mean, Josh Reynolds is the only one who I don't think I'd really would run a roster at all. Alec Pierce is to be determined with Sam Ehlinger now the starter. Matt Ryan got benched, so we'll see what's up with Alec Pierce. I'm not too optimistic about that, but we'll see. I don't want to just drop him. I like how we said, just looking at getting more points in games, as if that is not the goal of our game. But all jokes aside, I mean, I think you have a pretty good roster here, man. So I wouldn't be too quick to make a move. I think you can be patient. And of them all, I think Josh Reynolds is the only real easy drop.
I agree. He's tempted to trade Lamb for Cup. Sucks that nobody is willing to trade in my league. I mean, I would rather have Cup in a contending format. If this is redraft, I'm 100% taking. I mean, we're probably both taking Cup over Lamb in a redraft format.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's talking Dynasty.
Yeah, if it's Dynasty, I would prefer to have. I mean, I got these dudes ranked side by side, so it's like I really can't blame you for wanting one over the other.
And I couldn't either. I mean, honestly, if you're contending, if you think Cup is going to put you over the top over Lamb, which this season he very well could. I'm not going to say don't do that because on my list he's ranked higher. I mean, the community values Cup higher, even though Bryce agrees Lamb is higher. Oh no, he doesn't. Cup. I think the community values Cup.
Right next to each other.
Yeah, I think the community as a whole, with my understanding of the Dynasty world, I think most people in Dynasty view Cup higher over Lamb, even though he is 6 years older. So I don't agree with that, but if you go and say, hey, I'm going to do this trade, you can do it. But the only problem is if you lose the championship or you get bounced in the playoffs and your trade deadline has passed, trading him next year could possibly be more challenging than you would expect. And then if you ride into next season with a 30-year-old Cooper Kupp, it can get ugly fast, a la Julio Jones, Jordy Nelson of a few years ago. Same exact thing. 29 years old.
That was like 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
It's forever. DeAndre Hopkins looks good. He just came back. He's 30. Just saying, there's 30-year-olds that have produced. I mean, T.O. produced all the way to 35.
Yeah.
He's a freak of nature, though. I think we can agree on that. Time to drop Brady in a 1 QB. I don't hate it. I mean,
I wouldn't drop him. I guess it depends on who you're getting and what you have to do. But at the same time,
in a dynasty league, I'm probably still holding on.
I could totally see someone dropping Tom Brady, facing you in the playoffs with Tom Brady, and then beating you. Like I wouldn't want that to happen. So I don't think I would drop him unless I had to.
Followed it up. Someone offered me Dak for Brady and Keenan Allen. Should I take it? I mean, if it's a super flex, yeah, I'm taking it. But I mean, if this is a redraft league or even a 1 QB league, I'm probably keeping Brady and Keenan Allen.
I'd rather have Brady and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, definitely no 1 quarterback. Super flex, Dak, right?
Well, I mean, in Dynasty
super flex, yes. Dak Prescott. But Brady and Keenan Allen, you just shit on all these old wide receivers. Keenan Allen is the perfect example for an old wide receiver that's always getting hurt for you.
Yeah, but it depends on his team. I mean, he could use Keenan Allen this year. It depends on his team.
Maybe
it depends on his team.
Keenan Allen has a hamstring
injury. Keenan Allen's going to play. They have a bye week next week.
Keenan Allen has a hamstring injury. Hamstrings hinder wide receivers the entire year. They don't go away.
How old is Keenan Allen?
I think he's 30. 29, 30.
Here we go, baby. I told you.
There you go.
I got one. Yeah, right.
He's been getting hurt for years, though. I mean, years.
No, he hasn't. Oh my God.
Alec Pierce or Paris Campbell.
Hey, you skipped over Craig's question, by the way.
I'm not answering Craig's question.
I know the answer.
What is it? Just answer it.
Zaire Franklin.
There you go.
For sure.
Zaire Franklin, if you're still.
Because I don't know how to pronounce the other guy's name. So I'm going to go with Zaire Franklin.
Alec Pierce or Paris Campbell? Hubbard or Foreman?
Oh, geez.
This is Alec Pierce for me.
Yeah, I go Pierce, but again, with Sam Ehlinger, we have really no idea how that's going to shake out. I mean, you could flip a coin, and I mean, I don't know. Hubbard and Foreman, I prefer Foreman.
I do too.
But I mean,
again, I don't really want either of them. But if they're, I'm assuming they're both on waiver wire, and maybe he's putting in a request for one. I would prefer Foreman.
I would as well.
I think he's better than Hubbard. And then I'll take the more talented wide receiver and Alec Pierce. I think Paris Campbell's talented as well. I just really like Alec Pierce. I think he's a guy that I like to acquire in dynasty trades a lot as a person that evens out a trade if I'm given a 1 for 2 people.
Well, we agree. We agree.
Yeah.
We agree.
So they were asking us if this was dynasty rankings, and then Stasher was like Jameson Williams. I'm assuming, obviously, and we can't put him in the top 12 if we haven't seen him play yet. I think that's pretty easy, right? I mean,
you could. I mean, you
Right.
could.
but
I wouldn't. But you could.
You really can't. You really
You could. I mean, you
can't
could.
put him above any of these guys, Leone. Come on.
I know. I'm not saying you could for Jameson Williams, but I'm saying, could you take a rookie player, rank them top 12? I mean, I think I did it for Barkley.
Okay, so
I
actually was about to bring this up. You can for running back.
I think you
said it.
I think
last week.
And I think you can for wide receiver too, but not with the group of wide receivers that are currently in the league.
We didn't even put. I mean, Jamar Chase was one of the highest touted rookie wide receiver that a lot of people had, and I don't think if you look anybody's dynasty rankings before, even after the draft, I don't think anybody had Jamar Chase.
Someone could have, and they would have been right.
There's just how often have we seen wide receivers taken in the first round be bust than we have running backs? You really don't see running backs taken in the first round become NFL busts.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Name one. I can name you three.
Rashad Penny. I mean, Rashad Penny.
Okay, that's that. Okay, let's go with
the part of the problem is a lot of running backs aren't taken in the first round, so that's part of the problem.
I agree. I mean, I agree with that, but still, we're not seeing any that are being they're just not. But you're not seeing many busts. Where wide receivers, there's so many. I mean, we got Jalen Reagor, Kevin White, N'Keal Harry, Laquan Treadwell. That list just goes on and on and on. It seems like there's one every year, maybe 2 years. It just at least one, right? Where it's running backs. Yeah, we got Rashad Penny, and he's just been the injury bug has killed him his whole career rather than talent. But where have we seen him running back?
Reggie Bush.
That's again then. So we're seeing one a decade. It seems.
I mean, there's part of the problem is there's just not a lot of first round running backs that are drafted. That's part of the problem. But
that's true.
But I think someone could rank a wide receiver top 12.
I wonder when that's been done.
But I don't know. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see
when
that's happened. It wouldn't have surprised me to see Drake London in some people's top 12, I guess, after the draft. It wouldn't have surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I'm just saying it could happen, but
I like Jameson Williams a lot. I traded Romeo Doubs for him straight up last week.
What did you do?
I traded Romeo Doubs for Jameson Williams straight up last week.
Oh, that's a great trade.
I know.
That's a great trade.
Romeo Doubs had 2 bad weeks.
Yeah, before
great guy to buy right now.
Before Penny got hurt, I traded Romeo Doubs and a second round pick for Kenneth Walker.
Wow.
And that really, really paid off. Oh, and in another league, I traded Cortland Sutton and something for Kenneth Walker.
Wow.
Yeah.
This year is why I put veteran wide receivers high in dynasty rankings. This right here. This guy, first of all, overpaid by 1,000,000%.
Wait, what happened? Oh, let's see. Cup to contender, got Waddle and a first and second next year. Yeah, I mean, this is and
this is how I look at it.
And I know Cup has more value than 12th overall in the community rankings. And it would be kind of fun. Ooh. You
did a good job here, Josh, you know what happened here, right? Tyreek Hill went to the Dolphins. So Waddle got started. I feel like people just forgot about Jalen Waddle when that happened, or at least he went down in a lot of people's minds, rankings. Not mine. I think he stayed the same pretty much, which obviously was top. I had him as a top 5. Actually, I had him as number 3 going into the season. So he honestly has not changed a bit for me. But if you listen to me at all last year, I was a big Waddle guy. I kind of talk about Chris Olave like I did Jalen Waddle last year. So great trade. And you're seeing the return. You're going to see it this upcoming season. And he says he still has a chance to compete. And it'll be set up next year.
That's another thing I want to say too, which is, if you get a lot of these young guys, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, T. Higgins, Olave, AJ Brown. Like, yeah, they may not be valued as much as Cooper Kupp in the general community, but even still, these guys are all really good. And you're still set up to win this year, even without Cooper Kupp. You can still win with these other dudes. And yeah, they might not get as many points per week, but if they hit in the playoffs, it's just as good anyway. And so you're set up more for the future, but you can still win now. So yeah, that's another reason why I really like the youth wide receiver movement.
So, Babjap has 3 of the dudes in your top 6, but he's still lacking a game breaker. Yeah, Olave, it seems like he's more of like a safe play right now. Like he hasn't had any boom weeks, right? I mean, if I remember correctly, he's just had kind of that. He had that one really good game where I think he had like 26 or something or 28. But outside of that, he's just like kind of getting a lot of volume right now. Lamb is just an inconsistent fantasy producer, but still a solid guy. AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts have surprised me this year. I really liked AJ Brown. I had him ranked top 5 like 2 years ago, and he started going nuts. And then like he just kept getting hurt, and I didn't like the offense losing. Who did they lose? That was a wide receiver when AJ Brown was there. Who were the Titans wide receivers? AJ Brown and who else? Before
last year?
No, like 2 years ago. Who was the other wide receiver with him? I can't think of it.
It's not coming to mind.
Well, but anyway, I remember I was all over AJ Brown his rookie year. After his rookie year, I just liked the way he played, and then he kept getting hurt, so he kept falling in my rankings. But I think, I mean, these dudes are nuts. I think it is just you, as you said at the end there. I mean, if I'm having these dudes in my lineup every week, I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. I mean, I think you would agree. I mean, you got them ranked in your top 6, all 3 of them. So
yeah,
and they're all in my top 12, right?
Corey Davis was the guy I think you're thinking of.
Oh, yeah. He took a little bit of pressure off AJ Brown, just a little bit, not a ton. He kind of disappointing career, but it's whatever. Val's the GOAT. What should I do? 10-man league. I'm 6-1. He doesn't know if it'll last. CMC Pierce.
Well, it won't last. You're either going to be 7-1 or
Amon-Ra,
6-2.
ETN, Kelsey Swift. Etienne, Montgomery, Lazard, Thielen, Juju, James Robinson, Chuba Hubbard. I'd be looking on the waiver wire for maybe a better quarterback option. I mean, I don't really feel comfortable with Brady in my lineup now until I start to see that offense pull it together. It sounds crazy, but like, would you feel more comfortable in a 1 QB league putting in Daniel Jones right now?
I don't think I could do that.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, you need to watch Daniel Jones play.
No, I have. He has
a phenomenal season right now.
I wouldn't go that far.
Dude, he is not turning the ball over like he used to. He's got who I don't even know who's playing wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson and Richie James playing wide receiver.
Yeah, but obviously what's he like on the year? He's not like a top 8 quarterback, is he? I mean,
he might have just broke top 12.
I don't.
He just had a huge week. 28 points this week. Huge week. He's like he drives the ball down the field and then they give Saquon the touchdowns. But man, he's looked really good this year. But
I'd feel more confident.
What about Geno Smith?
I mean,
feel better with him.
Again, this is just, you're just in streamer territory. I mean, this guy's roster, Vols, your roster is good enough to trade for a better quarterback. Like, easy.
I'd be looking to move Montgomery for one.
Dude, you can easily trade for a better quarterback. All you got to do is find a team that has 2 pretty good quarterbacks. They probably have Herbert, because Herbert's been sucking. They probably picked up another quarterback. But all you got to do is find someone who has a second quarterback who needs a running back.
Or Lamar. Lamar's had 3 bad weeks in a row.
All you got to just find a team that has 2 quarterbacks that needs a running back. And you can just say, hey, look, I'll trade for your backup quarterback. You're not even going to use them this week. And you can have one of my wide receivers or one of my running backs. I mean, that's the way to do it. That's what I would do. especially if I'm 6-1. I mean, if I'm
Yeah.
6-1, I'm going to be looking weeks ahead, looking at my bye weeks, trying to plan everything out.
I'd be trying to move Montgomery probably. I'd take my worst running back and try to move him because I'd be wanting to keep CMC, Pierce, Swift, and Etienne. Man, Amon Ra, Amon Ra. I guess
but I think you could. I think you could trade Juju after this week.
Wow, but really, would you want? I mean, he's got Amon Ra and then Juju, like
and Hopkins.
Oh, D Hop, yeah, you're right.
I mean, he has Hopkins, Amon Ra.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
I mean, you could trade. You could probably trade Juju straight up for Herbert right now.
Amon Ra's bye week's gone, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to. I'd want to keep. I'd want to keep Juju in there to probably plug in.
Maybe you can trade James Robinson because he just got traded.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe you can trade Chuba Hubbard because he just had a big game.
Oh, whoops! Skipped Marco. What's up, Marco? The old scrotum is back.
Scrotum.
He asks these on Sundays too. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I would pick up.
Yeah,
I would pick up Marquise Goodwin, and I would finally drop your scrotum.
I agree.
Share. Yeah.
Are you trading Keenan Allen for David Montgomery? I think David Montgomery is the second best running back on this team, to be honest.
I think it depends on your team.
I
think it's a fair trade. I think it's a very fair trade. I would not expect to use Keenan Allen. Well, they have a bye week coming up. I think
they're on bye this week, aren't they?
They're on bye this week.
I think so.
I think he has a bye week.
They are on bye. They are on bye this upcoming week. They are on bye.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you need wide receiver help and you don't need him this week, I'm good for it.
Yeah, I think that's an even trade. But I really don't like David Montgomery that much. Would you drop Jimmy G for Daniel Jones, Fields, Mariota, Brissett? I would drop him for Daniel Jones, personally.
I would drop him for Daniel Jones because of Fields because of the rushing upside.
Mm-hmm. I think you could take which one you like.
Certainly not Mariota over Brissett.
Dude, I think we saw what Fields is capable of. Like, that's what he is literally capable of when they use him the right way.
Man, we're both losers this year. Man, our teams both lost to the Bears, Bryce.
Yeah. The Patriots don't just have a QB crisis. They have a whole identity crisis right now. I don't know what to think of the organization.
As tempting as it is, do not click on that link.
I already cut one out. Oh, another one.
As tempting as it is, Bryce.
Nathalie Holzer.
I know you're married, so just, keep that in mind. Is your wife next to you? Okay.
No, not today.
Okay, well, you can click on it.
That's two. We had one earlier from Sex.
If you click on it, I'm not going to tell her.
We had one from Sex Find XYZ earlier.
Yeah, I bookmarked that for later.
Yeah. Took your advice and got Kelsey for Swift and Ertz. Okay. What defense do I stream? Titans, Jags, or Indy? I don't remember giving this advice. Do you? This sounds like you might have asked. He probably asked on the redraft stream.
I don't remember that, but
I might have said I probably have Swift and Ertz. I
can make the argument based on his team, so I don't really remember that. But
I'd be interested to see the rest of his team. Titans, Jags, or Indy? I would just see who plays the worst offense.
Indy plays Washington this week. I think I would pick Indy, but I don't know for sure who the Titans or the Jaguars play.
I would probably play Indy as well.
But I like Indy against. Jaguars play Denver. That's actually pretty interesting, actually.
Ooh, I play Jags.
I like that. Jags. Well, go back to the last one. What was the other team?
Titans
play.
I don't think I'm going to play them against anybody.
Titans play Houston.
No, I'd play the Jags.
I would play the Jacksonville Jaguars as well.
This is a good question. Aaron Jones and Deontay Johnson, PPR Dynasty value. I think a first-round pick for both of them are good. Like, not both together, like each individually.
Well, are you going to rank them in your top 12? No,
but I don't think it takes a first-round pick. There's people outside the top 12 that are worth a first-round pick.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, geez.
Would you rank them in the top 2 rounds
of a
startup?
Startup? No. I think Deontay Johnson gets in that round 3 conversation with one quarterback.
All right. Well, who would you
maybe
rank higher,
Aaron Jones.
Deontay Johnson or Aaron Jones?
I'll take. This is interesting for me because I think Aaron Jones can be more value to a contender than Deontay Johnson would be. Right? I think Deontay Johnson would be hard to trade. Like, it just seems like you're making a lateral move because I don't think he's helping a contender this year. And it's like if I was rebuilding, I wouldn't mind acquiring him because I think he's only 25 and he hasn't been producing this year. So I think he'd be harder to trade, but I'd still be willing to give a first round for him.
I think
Probably
Aaron
more than
Jones would be
mid to
harder to
late.
trade, given
Really?
that he's
Dude,
almost
I think,
28.
dude, with the running back crisis, man, if you go find the Breece Hall owner and be like, hey, first round pick, I'll give you Aaron Jones. Boom. They're going to do it. You don't think so?
I don't know.
That is the perfect situation. Is that not the perfect situation, though? Like, say the Breece Hall owner was 4-2. Say for some reason he's maybe 5-2, 4-3 this upcoming week. The rest of his roster looks all right. I think that a first round pick for Aaron
But
Jones.
I wouldn't take a first for Deontay Johnson, whereas I might take a first for Aaron Jones. I would never just take a first for Deontay Johnson. Like, I think Deontay Johnson is worth more. I mean, that's his question.
I would agree. I think he's worth more of an early first, so I don't think you're going to be able to get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to be able to sell him to a contender.
But he's not asking. That's the thing. Like, I feel you, but he's not asking for trade value. He's just saying, like, hey, what's their value? Like, Deontay Johnson.
Andrew Jones is worth the first. Deontay Johnson's worth the first and a second.
Yeah, I think Deontay Johnson's worth more than that. I think Deontay Johnson's worth 2 firsts.
Oh, I would sell Deontay Johnson for 2 firsts in a heartbeat.
You would?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Would you sell Michael Pittman for 2 firsts?
That would be harder, but I would have to I think I'd have to look at where those firsts would be in that situation.
Would you trade George Pickens for 2 firsts?
In Dynasty, I think it's still a hard one. Like if one was like top 5, man, in one quarterback, it's a little different because I already know who the first pick is in one quarterback league.
I mean, for me, the answer is no. Like, no, I'm keeping Deontay Johnson over. I mean, 2 firsts is I think it's where it's at. Same with all those guys. George Pickens, Michael Pittman. I mean, Deontay Johnson too. I mean, for me, Deontay Johnson is worth 2 firsts for sure. Aaron Jones is not.
I think it'd take 2 firsts to get George Pickens off me. I think it'd take a first and a second for Deontay Johnson.
But how can George Pickens? That's the other thing. Like, isn't Deontay Johnson better than George Pickens?
No, he's not.
Right now, he's not.
He might be right now, but we're not going to be saying that next year. I'm telling you. I listen to me. I'm telling you. You're gonna see. I put my money where my mouth is on this. I think George Pickens will be a super valuable wide receiver next year. That's why I have George Pickens ranked higher on my list here. So, of course, you're going to ask me that, and I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah, I mean, it was
that the person put it again. Block. There.
I didn't see it again. They put it again?
Oh no, it just never took it off.
Just block again. Block again.
I did. It said that you can't because it's already blocked. I think a first for Aaron Jones. It's funny you say that because now I think in a 1 quarterback league, I would ask for a first and a second for Aaron Jones. In super flex, I'll take a first.
Deontay Johnson's worth more than Aaron Jones, though.
I will agree with that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I
2
agree with
firsts.
that. In a 1 quarterback league, that is about right. The asking price, I would agree. In a super flex, I think I'd take a first and a second.
Thank you for joining me tonight, Bryce. I'm glad you finally came around.
I don't play I have no 1 quarterback dynasty leagues.
So that's interesting. Most of my leagues are 1 quarterback. So.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to gauge that value very
interesting.
well.
That's fair. That's cool.
Yeah. So, I'm in a bunch of keeper leagues, 1 quarterback, but no dynasty. Is it too early to try and pick up wide receivers off waivers for week 9s first of all, there's no such thing as too early, or too early to pick up people off waivers. Waivers are all year long. Almost my full starting lineup is on bye that week. Ooh, for week 9. Sorry. Jeesh. I've got Hines, Madison at running back 1 and 2, missing a wide receiver 2 and flex currently for week 9. Listen, sometimes you just I would almost rather all my bye weeks just destroy my
Depends
lineup
on his
and
record.
NFL.
Cameron,
Yeah.
It depends on your record. Because
if you're going into week 9 at 7 or if you're going into week 9 at 6-2 or
Right.
7-1,
right.
or even 5-3, you could stomach a loss. I would be a little bit more inclined to try and win there. But I'm not going to drop, even at 5-3. I'm not going to drop assets that are going to get scooped up and be useful down the road. But if you're like 3-5, I think you got to make a move. You got to.
But what's interesting?
Redrafts.
What's interesting, if you're 1-6 right now or 2-5 right now, you need to just play for right now. Okay, so cool. So look, current record's 4-3, so that's perfect. Yes, I would try to make sure you're good this week, but then also look ahead to next week. I do. I mean, you need to win. You need to at least go 1-1, but you really would like to win the next 2 games. So I don't know what you need to do exactly. This is a good Discord question. Post your roster in the chat. We can look at your waiver wire, try to help you out because
okay, so he's got CMC and Saquon on bye that week with AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, and Ayuk on bye. And they said Jameson Williams, which I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him until I see him produce anyway. Those dudes could easily win you this week, and you could be going into week 9 at 5-3. So
yeah, and I wouldn't want to drop any of those guys either. I mean, I wouldn't drop any of those guys. So it's one of those things where, look, try to win this week, and if you win this week, you're probably going to lose.
So the answer ends up being yes. It is too early to get people off waivers if it means dropping any of the people you just mentioned.
Right.
I think we can agree on that.
I agree.
It is too 100%. Early if it means dropping any of the guys you mentioned.
A sneaky ad, Cameron, if you have the roster space, is Dearness Johnson because Kareem Hunt could be traded. And that would set up Dearness Johnson, although I guess that's still week 9. That doesn't really help you. It would help you, though, with Kareem Hunt not having a bye week 9.
Yeah, for sure. He gets traded to the Rams.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little bit too early, but it's good that you're keeping an eye on it because
it's good you look that far ahead. I don't even do that.
Another thing, Cameron, you can do is if you have kickers and stuff, you can drop your kicker for potential players for the following week, and then if you have an injury, you can utilize an IR spot later in the week, and that way you still get the guy you want. Do a double switch in baseball. I do that all the time. So you can
James
try to
Williams
do that.
should be taking an IR spot up. So
if you have an IR spot in your league, yeah. Now, if you don't have an IR spot, I don't think I'd burn a roster spot on Jameson Williams myself. I don't know. I mean, maybe now since he's so close to returning, it's okay, but I wouldn't have kept him on my bench without an IR spot this whole season, personally.
This is the guy, Caden, the Colts fan, was asking about the Keenan Allen and David Montgomery. So, yeah, I can't blame you for making that trade for Montgomery. Then, if you're real weak at running back and your wide receivers are pretty stacked, because I mean, if David Montgomery gets plugged in your lineup as a starter,
Cameron,
you're good enough, and you don't need Keenan Allen, then boom.
Cameron, are you still here with us, Cameron? Cameron, I would drop the second defense and Elijah Mitchell. I would not pick up players, these wide receivers you listed, KJ Osborne, DeAndre Carter, Robbie. I would not pick up these players. Instead, I would be picking up high upside backup running backs who could be a starter week 9. Jalen Warren if Najee Harris got hurt. Alexander Madison if Cook got hurt. I mean, I would be just taking like flyers on higher upside guys because at the end of the day, when you need to add KJ Osborne or DeAndre Carter or Robbie Anderson or Olamide Zacchaeus, all of those guys are still going to be available. And if they're not available, equal counterparts with different names of the same type of guy are going to be available. So if I don't know if that kind of makes sense, like logically, but like I would pick up guys like Kenneth Walker would have been a guy who I would have put in that Jaylen Warren type tier of guy. Because you never know when a running back is just going to go down, like Rashad Penny.
Right.
Like Snoop, Hasty, Snoop, like Jaws just said. Exactly. Like those are the kind of guys I would roster for week 9, just hoping that, I mean, you don't want to hope someone gets hurt, but I mean, you can hope they get suspended or something. Those are the types of guys that I would rather roster looking ahead to week 9 as a lottery ticket. Because again, those wide receivers you listed, I mean, those are a dime a dozen. All those types of wide receivers, they may have a different first and last name, but they're still the same kind of guy.
He's got Madison Hines on his roster.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you kind of got the right idea. So I would still just pick up more of those types of guys, and hopefully, things shake out in your favor.
What are your thoughts on Danny Gray and Jalen Tolbert?
This is a great question, Marco. If you don't mind, Bryce, I can answer it first.
Go ahead.
I was not impressed with Tolbert at all in the preseason. He had an opportunity to start for this team and blew it. You blew it. Like he looked terrible. Even Cowboys fans hated him. Noah Brown was outperforming him. So I am completely out on Jalen Tolbert. If you can trade him for a second or third, I would take that. Danny Gray, I think, has enough upside where I still like him. I think he's a very good stash. You can get him for basically nothing right now. But I do think that, especially next year with Trey Lance, with a bigger arm than Jimmy Garoppolo, I do think Danny Gray could be a factor next season, not so much this season. So of the two, I'm a big Danny Gray supporter. I think he's an excellent stash. I am completely out on Tolbert.
Yeah, Tolbert's garbage. Like he had all the opportunity and it's gone. I wouldn't be surprised to never see it open up for him again. Danny Gray, not really a guy I've been paying a lot of attention to. If he's on your taxi squad, cool. If
you'll side with my opinion, then
yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, I really thought I had my eye on Jalen Tolbert. I didn't have any shares of him, but like I was looking at him because I mean, geez, the opportunity was there and he just didn't seize it. So what do you do? That's it. We got through the questions. Hey, 9:20 already. I don't have to work tomorrow morning, so I'm not mad about it.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. The last few weeks, I've had to take my son to jiu-jitsu practice. I do not have to do that today.
Hey!
So I'm
good.
I'm
How
good,
old's your
man.
son?
10 years old.
Dude, jiu-jitsu is one of the most, I think, the most applicable thing out in the real world if you're ever presented the opportunity of where you have to use it. I think it's a really, really good thing that people should really try and get their kids into for sure. Oh, we got one more last question.
Let's bring him in the questions. We're good. We're having a lot of fun today.
What positions should I upgrade my team? Eckler, Jacobs, Diggs, Evans, Lazard, Michael Carter, Thielen, Hawkinson, and Claypool.
All right. Well, you really need a third running back, especially in 10-man PPR. Right, like
okay, so
Eckler.
This is probably the similar format to like all of the leagues I play in, where you play like 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and a tight end. I bet. It's
like
more to that.
Eckler and Jacobs are great. Like
Boom.
That's cool. And Diggs, Evans is good.
He needs really a third. He just needs a flex player.
But now Lazard's hurt. Michael Carter, I guess, is flex worthy now, but
I think so.
I mean,
I think he's a
In
good flex option
10-team
this week for sure.
In a 10-team league, not really though. Like that's not ideal.
It's not ideal, but I mean, with everybody going down,
Thielen's okay. I mean, Hawkinson's not a great tight end. I mean, I think your biggest weakness is flex and tight end. I mean, Claypool, like, I don't even know if Claypool's rosterable in 10-man leagues. I mean, I guess he had a nice week last week.
He might be here soon. Soon. So did you hear about, do you ever see clips of the Kelsey Brothers podcast?
I have not watched that.
So Travis Kelsey's agent and him are restructuring his contract to free up cap space. Kansas City's going to make a move. The rumors are Claypool, trading for Claypool and extending him, no, Claypool is rumored to go to the Packers. The rumors are Odell Beckham Jr. So I guess that doesn't apply here, but Claypool is apparently rumored to go to the Packers, which immediate impact, in my opinion. The exact type of receiver that Aaron Rodgers utilizes. Like, dude that does like quick routes, big bodied receiver where Rodgers can put it where he can catch it, nobody else can. Like, I think Claypool's a hold. I really do. I mean, he's had 2 weeks now back to back that he's been nothing super. I mean, he had that 1 week where last week, not this past week, but the week before, he had a good week. He probably sat on most people's bench. And then this past game, I think he had like 7 to 9 targets. Like, he had a decent amount of volume thrown his way. Check how many targets he just got on Sunday night.
I want to say like 10. I want to say 10.
It was kind of high. So I really think that Claypool is rosterable right now, for sure. Yeah, you have such a good core, right, with Eckler, Jacobs, Diggs, and Evans. Like, you feel comfortable with that. It's just the flex player that the problem is. And it's like you're not going to want to give up a 2-for-1. Like, I'm not trying to trade Eckler or Jacobs in a redraft league.
8 targets.
I'm really not trying to Diggs and Evans. How many? 8?
8, yeah. Deontay Johnson had 10.
10. How many did Pickens have?
6.
Caught all 6 of them, though, didn't he?
He did.
He sure did.
He's
very, very good. I'd rather
Pat
have him.
Freiermuth had 9 targets. Now that's
Freiermuth had a nice week himself, for sure.
I traded for Pat Freiermuth recently.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. Remember? You got him thrown in kind of deal, didn't you?
Yeah, it was Miles Sanders for Freiermuth and a second and a third.
Nice. That's good value.
Yeah.
I just had a league where David Njoku went down for me in a league I'm trying to contend. I've got freaking Hunter Henry stepping in.
Another dynasty secret for those watching now and redraft too. Try to acquire players of fans of those players, like teams in your league. Like, for example, if I played in a league with Bryce, I would give a slight bump up to like any Patriots player.
You ain't getting shit from me with Patriots.
Just knowing that. Oh, if I could just dangle a little Tyquan Thornton in front of him.
Yeah, okay. That's the only one that might need.
I'm telling you, man, it works. I'm telling y'all.
You couldn't sell me high on Ramondre. You couldn't sell me high on Jacoby. You couldn't sell me high on Bailey Zappi. You couldn't sell me high on Mac Jones. Like,
I don't know,
maybe
man.
Tyquan Thornton, but I know his value.
This guy.
I know. It's not aging well. Poor Mac.
He's a stud.
Poor Mac. They just need to announce him as the starter, get his confidence back.
They're going to.
Good.
Oh, we have another question. Look at that.
We got a bunch. Jay Snow did have Mike Williams. Man, I think that you could improve at all positions, really. But it's like I'm not giving away my core 4 in a redraft league.
Yeah, you
those
can.
Those guys right there could put you up 100 points. And 130 points is a good week in a PPR with a roster like that. Like, I just would kind of hold tight, ride the ship with Michael Carter in the flex. Maybe Claypool ends up being a little bit better, and just roll with what you got. Maybe scour the waiver wire for some guys. Still need a wide receiver too for that week. I think Marquise Goodwin would be the guy. He needs one. He has to get one. He can't.
No, he doesn't. He can wait. The week 9.
I'm saying, week 9 comes and those same guys are there. Which one are you picking up?
Oh, if they were, yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know.
Marquise
Ask me next week. Cameron, come back on next week. Tuesday, I'll tell you which one.
Yeah. That's a good point, Cameron. Come back next week on Tuesday, and we will tell you who to pick up.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep. Thanks. Thank you, Jay Snow, for coming in and asking questions. It makes our time way more fun. So
let's go.
Ooh, Shaite, Tyreek, and Ayuk for Etienne and Debo.
Yes.
I mean, I'm doing this in probably all formats.
Etienne and Debo.
I mean, that's just a much better, like, especially if you're hurting at running back, like Etienne is a solid play now for me. Debo is, I mean, he's got a nice floor himself, and I'm hoping that he gets utilized more in the pass game now that Christian McCaffrey's there. So I would make that trade.
Did you have Etienne in your top 12 running backs?
I did not, but I think I would have him now.
See, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I'm talking about.
I didn't put any veterans in top. I didn't put any veterans in my top 12.
I want to go back and check the tape now.
I think Josh Jacobs was my oldest running back, and he's like 24.
I want to go back and check the tape.
You know what, Mr. Leone? I have him right here.
Do you?
I do. Let's put him up.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Click.
I put him at 12 above Joe Mixon, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think I would move him. I don't think I would change it. I think I would still have Joe Mixon higher.
I think I'd put him at 12 above Joe Mixon, for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. Look at that. I don't think I'd change my rankings. Although
the only one I would change.
I might flip Kenneth Walker and Javonte Williams now. Might.
I think I might as well.
Yeah, because man,
I think I would move Najee and Javonte down a spot and put Kenneth Walker at 6.
No, I don't. I wouldn't move him that high yet. But I think
Najee's like 23. He's a little bit older for a second-year running back, or 24.
Yeah, but man,
Kareem Hunt landing spots. We've already kind of talked about it.
This is cool. Bit. Leave that up now. We're talking about running backs now.
Yeah, I think the Rams.
The Rams is the premier destination for Kareem Hunt if he were to go somewhere.
It really wouldn't surprise me to see him go to Miami, as them getting an upgrade now and a little bit like a year or two solution. It wouldn't surprise me. What else? It's just they'd have to pay him right away. Whoever trades for him is going to have to pay him right away. So I'm not super familiar on teams' cap space and stuff like that. Definitely not the Chiefs. I've been thinking who else. I feel like the Rams is by far the best one, and then I could see the Cardinals. Like that's not another realm of possibility at all.
Well, the Vikings have the most cap space. They're out.
Right.
Browns have the second most cap space. They're obviously out. Panthers are not contending. They're out. Raiders out. Eagles
could be a landing spot for sure. That's not out of the realm of possibility either.
Eagles could work. Cowboys, I think, are safely out.
Yeah.
Falcons are not contending. They're out. Packers are out. Broncos are not contending. They're out.
I don't know. The Broncos wouldn't surprise me. The Broncos would not surprise me.
I just don't see them doing that right now with their current situation.
I think if they want to put Russ in there and try and make that offense look as good as it can with that quarterback, they could. That is a possibility for sure.
Steelers,
which
I think are out.
Yeah, Steelers are out for sure.
Dolphins are, like you said, a possibility. Bears are out. Colts are out. Chargers are out. And then Rams for the top 15. I mean, I think Rams, Miami, Eagles.
All spots. That wouldn't be
surprising. And maybe I don't think Denver, you think Denver. So those
it's
are the
a possibility.
four.
It would surprise me.
Yeah, so those are the four we'll go with that are most likely.
They just had to bring Marlon Mack back off of a practice squad, so.
And a lot of these teams, if they have to pay Kareem Hunt now, like they can restructure his contract, sign him to a new deal, give him only $1 million this year. I mean, literally every single team in the NFL could do that. Like every team has $1 million of space. So yeah.
Could Garrett Wilson be a decent option off the waivers? I wouldn't feel comfortable with it. I mean, this is kind of depressing how Zach Wilson comes there and kind of ruins all the wide receiver value. I really don't think Zach Wilson's the answer. I was kind of high off him coming out of college. I think he should have sat for a year, but I just don't like what I see from Zach.
Yeah, but now Corey Davis is hurt, so that frees up some targets for
I think
Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I think he's about to get peppered.
Peppered with crappy targets.
Yeah, he performed last year on him.
Who would you rather have rest of season, Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson in a redraft league?
I'll take Garrett Wilson. I'll take the 10 more talented player. I don't feel comfortable with either of them, though. I mean, if you're starting them in your lineup, you're probably in trouble. Just to be honest, are you not?
Yeah.
So
interesting though.
I don't think he's a terrible option. I think it's better than all the people Cameron mentioned earlier. That's for sure. Cameron, we thank you, and we'll definitely be seeing you next week, buddy. If he hits the Rams, what do you think about him? And Quan said, I hope he doesn't hit the Eagles. Miles Sanders, I'm assuming.
I think it would destroy my Darrell Henderson shares.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be huge for Kareem Hunt to land there. I think that he would get all the PPR work. I mean, he's the better back out of the backfield than Darrell Henderson. He's going to get the run game work, even though the run game, I think they could put anyone back there and they're going to struggle outside of.
Yeah, he'd make Stafford better. He'll make Stafford better. He'll make Allen Robinson better. He'll make Van Jefferson better.
There is nowhere that Kareem Hunt could land where he would become the starting running back that would.
Cameron, that's a guy to add is Van Jefferson, actually, now that I think about it. He's kind of a sneaky play, I think. I know that hurts your feelings, Bryce, because of your Allen Robinson shares, but I think this team is really missing like that vertical.
I don't have any Allen Robinson.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
yeah.
Let's see. Who do the Rams play? Let's see. Week 9.
Oh,
Tampa Bay. That's not great.
I don't agree with this, Quan. Not even a Miles Sanders owner. He would just lose even more value the way they'll use anyone with legs on that team. Man, Miles Sanders is getting a lot of work. Like if he goes on there and like takes over Miles Sanders, I think that the problem would be he wouldn't take over right away. Like, but by playoff, like fantasy playoff time, it could be the Kareem Hunt show there.
No, I think that's what he's saying. He's saying that he's not even a Miles Sanders owner, but he would lose even more value.
But Miles Sanders is getting all the work right now. Like, and Boston Scott's healthy. Kenneth Gainwell's healthy. Like, Miles Sanders is getting a minimum of 15 touches a game.
But I think he's saying he wouldn't if Kareem Hunt was there.
Yeah, Miles Sanders wouldn't. But he's saying he doesn't like Kareem Hunt hitting the Eagles. Like, I think that Kareem Hunt would eventually just take over and he'd be the one getting the 15 touches.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think that the other spots would be more ideal because I think he takes over the starting job quicker.
Yeah, I think if a team trades for Kareem Hunt, they're going to use him. So yeah, I agree with that. Like they're not gonna bring in Kareem Hunt just to do like what the Browns are doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't trade for him. So I agree with you, Bryce.
Yeah. So he's saying he's saying the same thing I'm saying, like where he wouldn't take the job over right away.
It would just take a little while.
It would take a while. Kind of like what we saw with Leonard Fournette when he joined Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
He was not really super valuable his first year there. So I think the Eagles, out of the team we did mention that are realistic spots for him, I think the Eagles would be the worst. I think I would agree on that, where I would much rather see him go to the Rams or the Dolphins, where I think that he would take over the job much quicker, like within a couple of weeks. Like Raheem Mostert's not going to compete with him. He's just as good of a back out of the backfield as Chase Edmonds. So, and then he's way better than Darrell Henderson. So I think this would be obviously the best. What do I do with Kenyon Drake? Is he worth having any more? If Gus Edwards gets hurt, he is, but it's the Gus Edwards show now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kenyon Drake is a safe drop at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran 11 times and got 5 yards.
Yeah. and then Custer.
Justice Hill's there too. And then Dobbins will be back by playoff time. I mean, I think it's safe to say the Kenyon Drake experiment is over.
Yeah. He was a big disappointment in a lot of fantasy owners for
a lot of fantasy owners
career.
got burned. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily I wasn't one of them. I didn't buy any Kenyon Drake. That was good. So, all right. That's it for us.
Bryce, I appreciate you dealing with me tonight. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew, and I thought it was a fun show. Though we, debated our different philosophies, which, like you said, I think it's really good to go over different viewpoints, see how different people view different things, and I'm looking forward to our next episode where we go into that even a little bit further.
Yeah, it'll be fun getting like a picture of an entire first round of like a 12-man dynasty draft of how it.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to go 2 rounds. We'll see how it goes. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. But we will see you guys next week. Thanks so much, Jay, Snow, Quan, Cameron,
Marco,
Carmine. Sorry. Thank you guys so much for
sexfine.xyz. Dropped a note.
George Cook,
Nathali Hoyster with the stream.
How's the goat, Jaws? Thanks for coming in today, guys. Asking questions made our show way more fun. So we will see. Hopefully, we'll see you guys next week. Getting a more clear picture of
8:00 Eastern time.
Yep,
Tuesday.
Next week, Tuesday. See you guys.
Good night.